What if your life right now isn't fixed? What if it's a field of possibilities? Not just spiritually, not just motivationally, but in a very real, very practical, almost quantum way. We've been taught to see life as linear. If I do X, I get Y. If I work harder, I get more. If I grind longer, I move faster. But what if that's only half the story? What if the real breakthroughs, the ones that feel almost unfair, come from understanding how your reality behaves, more like a quantum field than a straight line? Today, I want to introduce you to the one mindset shift through the lens of quantum reality that you can change how you see your future forever. Most of us were raised in a very simple equation: work harder, get more. If things aren't working, push more hours, more hustle, more force. And if it still doesn't work, the conclusion is always the same: I must be the problem. I'm not disciplined enough. I don't want it enough. But look around. You know people who work less than you and they're ahead. You know people who don't seem as talented and yet doors keep opening up for them. So either life is random and unfair or there's something deeper going on. What if the problem isn't your effort, but your operating model? What if you're trying to navigate a quantum reality with a kindergarten blueprint? Let me explain what I mean. I'm not going to throw at you equations. I want to talk in patterns. In quantum physics, before you observe something, it doesn't exist as a solid fixed thing. It exists in possibilities, well, probabilities. Then when you observe it, when you direct attention to it, that field of possibilities collapses into a single outcome. Now, I'm not here to argue science versus spirituality, and I'm not saying you can just think things into existence. What I'm saying is this: your life already behaves in practice more like field of probabilities than a fixed script. And there isn't just one version of your future, there's many. There's versions where you stay stuck, there's versions where you slowly grow, there's versions where you break through faster than anyone ever expected. Those are all possible yous sitting in what's called a superposition. And every day, how you think, what you focus on, and what you actually do, you collapse those possibilities into your lived reality. That's not just quantum talk. That's your calendar. That's your choices. That's your alignment. Here's the mindset shift. Most people ask, how can I work harder inside my current reality? High level performers eventually realize that's the wrong question. The real question is, how can I align myself with a different version of me and collapse that reality instead? That's the shift from effort to alignment. From how do I push more energy into this stuck reality to how do I tune myself to the frequency of the future I actually want to live? Think of yourself like a signal. Every belief you hold, every value you claim, every action you take, it all broadcasts a certain pattern. In reality, respond to that pattern. Not perfectly, not instantly, but over time, as you consistently embody what matches what you constantly do, what you experience, that's alignment. Now let's go even deeper. If your life is a field of possibilities, then your identity, values, and actions function like a quantum code. They decide which version of you is most likely to collapse into your reality. First, identity. This is the story you believe about who you are, not the story you post on social media, the story you repeat in your head. I'm a leader, I'm a creator, I'm someone who always finds a way, or I'm a mess, I never follow through, things never work out for me. In quantum terms, identity is like your base frequency, the underlying signal everything else rides on. Second, your values. These are the things that matter to you the most: family, health, impact, freedom, faith, growth. Values are like your direction of energy. They tell your life. This is where your possibilities move. Third, your actions. What you actually do, not what you intend to do, and not what you talk about. Actions are your measurement. They're where reality gets read out. Identity is the wave, values are the direction, actions are the measurement. Here's the brutal part. When your actions don't match your values, your brain experiences internal conflict, guilt, shame, frustration. When your actions don't match your identity, even the identity you want, you feel like a fraud. You stop trusting yourself. But when identity, values, and actions start moving as one coherent signal, you become like a laser. Focused, precise, powerful. You're no longer just bouncing energy around randomly. You're directing it. That's where breakthroughs show up. This is where people often get overwhelmed. They hear new identity, new values, new actions, and they think, I have to destroy my life, quit everything, start over from zero. But that's not how quantum systems work. They don't jump from one extreme to another instantly. They shift through small changes in probability over time. That's why I teach the 1% rule. The 1% rule says you don't have to leap from where you are to your highest possible reality in one day. You just have to move 1% closer to alignment, and over and over and over again. One small shift in the direction of a person you're actually becoming. Let me give you some examples. If your desired identity is I am a disciplined creator, 1% might be writing for 10 minutes today, not finishing the book, not launching the brand, just 10 minutes of aligned identity. If your value is health actually matters to me, 1% might be drinking water instead of reaching for the fourth coffee, or walking 10 minutes after dinner, not a 2-hour extreme routine that you'll abandon next week. If your desired identity is I'm a present parent, partner, or friend, 1% might be putting your phone in another room for 20 minutes and being there fully. Each 1% action is like nudging the possibilities. At first, it doesn't look like much, but keep doing it. And most likely, the version of your future starts to change. That's where the impossible lives. Slowly, but inevitable. Not through one giant leap, but through 1,000 small aligned collapses into a new pattern. Let me show you how this plays out with someone just like you. We'll call her Maya. Maya was a high performer on paper, good job, good income, busy calendar, but under the surface, she felt stuck. Every year looked the same title, same stress, same quiet sense of, is this really it? When we talked, her main question was, how do I get to the next level faster? What course do I take? What strategy do I need? And what do I do? That's a very linear, classic question. If I input the right effort, I get the right output. Instead of answering it, I gave her a different frame. Imagine there are 10 different Mayas already existing in potential. One who stays exactly where she is, one who burns out and quits, one who grows slowly, and one who becomes a respected, fulfilled leader with impact and space in her life. All of those versions are possible. None of them are guaranteed. every time you think, choose, and act, you're voting for one of those Mayas to become your reality. So the real question is not, how do I hustle harder? The real question is, how do I consistently vote for the Maya that I actually want to become? We unpacked her identity. She said she was a leader, but her actions, she behaved like a firefighter, putting out everyone else's emergency, saying yes to everything, rescuing, pleasing, over functioning. Her values on paper were impact, growth, integrity, family. But her calendar said reaction, exhaustion, survival. So we began practicing quantum 1% alignment. Not huge changes, just daily votes. 1%, she blocked 45 minutes a day for deep, meaningful work on projects that would actually move her forward. No email, no Slack, no multitasking. One vote for leader Maya. 1%. She started asking a new question at the start of each day. If I were already a leader I'm becoming, what would I focus on first? And then she followed that answer another vote. 1%. She gave herself permission to say no. No to low impact, high drama tasks that only kept her busy. She didn't quit her job. She didn't move to Bali. She didn't magically wake up with a new life. But within months, her probability field changed. The version of her that stays stuck became less likely. The version of her that grows and leads became more likely. Opportunities started appearing that weren't there before. Except they were. She just couldn't see them from her old identity. That's what this shift does. It doesn't change what you do. It changes what you can even perceive as possible. There's another piece of quantum reality that matters for your life: the observer effect. In simple terms, what you focus on, you amplify. Again, it's not a magical wish. Make it happen and disappear, and here I am. But in a very practical human way, if you constantly focus on how stuck you are, you feed the version of you that stays stuck. You see more evidence that backs the story. You notice more reasons why things won't change. You start paying deep, honest attention to the version of who you are becoming. You feed that pattern instead. So here's the question: which future are you observing the most? The one where you're exhausted, resentful, and small? Or the one where you're aligned, powerful, and clear? You're not just living your life. You're continually measuring it, interpreting it, narrating it. Change the way you observe yourself, and over time, you change the reality you collapse into. Now, I want you to do something a little different. If you can, I want you to actually participate in this part. If you're driving, keep your eyes open. If you're somewhere safe, you can close your eyes for a moment. Take a breath in and out. Now imagine this. In front of you is a line of different yous. One is tired, bitter, always almost there, but never quite. One is numb, checked out, going through the motions. But there's also one who is deeply aligned. They're not perfect, they're not a superhero, but there's a quiet power in their eyes. Clarity is how they move. Consistency is what they choose. They know who they are, they know what matters, and their actions reflect it. That version of you already exists in potential. You don't have to deserve them. You don't have to earn their existence. You simply have to start voting for them 1% at a time. Now ask yourself right now, if I chose to align with that version of me today, what is one thing I would stop doing? What is one thing I would start doing? And what is one thing I would finally be honest about? You don't need your whole life to change this second. You just need to cast one clear vote for the future you actually want to collapse into. Now, let's bring this all down into something that you can write, remember, and practice. 3 questions. Question 1. Who am I becoming? Not who you were yesterday, not who do people think you are. Who are you actually becoming through your choices? Question 2. What truly matters to me in this season? Not theoretically, not eventually, but right now. In this chapter, what matters? Question 3. What is the 1% aligned action I can take today that a future aligned version of me would recognize as theirs? That's it. Those 3. Ask them often, write the answers, then let your calendar, your habits, and your conversations slowly adjust. Because every time you do, you're not just improving, you're shifting realities. The difference between stuck and unstoppable isn't cosmic luck. It isn't secret knowledge held by a chosen few. It's alignment. We live in a reality with more possibilities than you and I can even comprehend. You're not doomed to the most painful version of your story. You're not sentenced to repeat the same year over and over the rest of your life. There are other versions of you waiting to be chosen, waiting to be aligned with, waiting to be lived. Most people will keep pouring more effort into misalignment and calling that grinding. But you know better now. You can decide to stop worshiping harder and start honoring truer. To stop asking, how do I force this reality to change? And start asking, how do I change what I'm aligned with? If this landed with you, if something in you feels seen or slightly shaken right now, don't just click away and forget. I want you to type one word in the comments. Align. Not for me, for you. As a way of saying out loud, I'm done only living the most familiar version of me. I'm ready to align with the highest, truest version of myself. And if you want more content on mindset, leadership, and building a life that fits who you really are, make sure you subscribe, because we're going deeper, and I'd be honored to walk this path with you. Thank you for watching. Now go cast your next vote for the reality you're ready to live.